In July of 2020, reports emerged of a 30-year-old body discovered in one of the cellars of a mansion in Paris. Apparently there were signs that the man had been knifed to death and the body then covered with planks and rubble. The mansion had largely been abandoned since the 18th century and the body was only discovered when the new owner started the renovations on the building. Criminals always try to avoid punishment for their deeds, so it is not uncommon to find the bodies of their victims only years after they have been killed, often in shallow graves or secluded spots, or even fridges or closets. Some, of course, are never found at all. Something that I find very sad, though, is the fact that so many people die from natural causes and their bodies are only discovered weeks or years later, without anyone even noticing that the person is missing. Here are some details of a few of these cases. Rebecca Wells worked as a compliance auditor at the Los Angeles County Department of Internal Services in California. She went into work on a Friday morning in 2011, sat down and slumped over a desk, and no one realized that she was dead until a security guard found her on the Saturday morning. On November 28, 2009, Larry Ely Murillo-Moncada's parents reported him missing, telling authorities that their son became upset and ran out of their house. The 25-year-old was working at the Frills Supermarket store in Council Bluffs, Iowa. In January of 2019, 10 years later, crews were removing shelving and coolers at the now vacant grocery store and discovered Larry's body wedged in an 18-inch space between a cooler and the wall. Investigators believe that Murillo-Moncada ran from his home, went to the grocery store, climbed onto the coolers, and then fell into the gap between the back of the cooler and the wall and became trapped. His death was classified as accidental. In April of 2020, a store manager in Cleveland, Ohio, called a pest exterminator after noticing a foul odor emanating from the air ducts. Expecting to find rats or mice, the exterminator instead found a dead body in the air ducts. Cleveland firefighters had to use a large electric saw to cut a hole in the top of the roof to help recover the man's body. No foul play was suspected, and it was believed to be the body of 51-year-old Albert Collins, who was reported missing a week before. The sad death of Joyce Carol Vincent was the topic of a docudrama film in 2011, Dreams of Life, as well as an album by the musician Steven Wilson. This British woman's corpse lay undiscovered in a London bedsit for more than 2 years. She died around December of 2003, and her body was only found in January 2006. Cause of death was determined to be either an asthma attack or complications from a peptic ulcer. Her death went unnoticed because she reduced contact with family, friends, neighbors and co-workers since 2001. In September 2015, the body of 18-year-old Joshua Vernon Maddux was discovered in the stone chimney of an abandoned cabin less than a mile from his home in Teller County, Colorado. Maddux had been reported missing 7 years before. It is suspected that the tall and skinny Maddux was probably trying to shimmy down the chimney when he got stuck. Natalie Jean Wood was known in the Australian media as the woman Sydney forgot because her skeletal remains had lain on the floor of her upstairs bedroom for nearly 80 years. During that time, not a single person thought to check on her well-being. Not even her relatives tried to contact her. Her neighbors assumed that she had probably moved in with family. Even though her unpaid bills were piling up outside her door, the utility companies and local council also did not notice anything amiss. It was only in 2011 that Wood's sister-in-law asked the police to try and contact her, and the police found her body. An inquest into Wood's death found that she probably fell over in her bedroom in February 2004 and died a short while after that. The last known sighting of Natalie was in December 2003 when she went to a local pharmacy to pick up her blood pressure medication. Of course, when it became known that Wood had some money in the bank and that her house was worth almost $1 million, quite a few long-lost cousins suddenly emerged from the woodwork to claim their share. Barbara Salinas-Norman was an author, teacher and Chicana activist. Her decomposing body was found in her apartment in Santa Fe in May 2013, and it was believed that she may have been dead for more than a year. Salinas-Norman was the author of Los Tres Cerdos, Nacho, Tito and Miguel, which was her version of the Three Little Pigs. She wrote, illustrated and published her own books with the intention of helping Mexican-American children identify with their culture. Her body was found by her sister and brother-in-law, who became concerned when they had not heard from Barbara in a long time. An autopsy suggested that she had died from natural causes. In October 2012, the skeleton of a man wearing pyjamas was found in his bed in his house in Lille, France. The man had been dead for more than 15 years. The Spanish man lived alone and had no relatives. The house was locked from the inside, and the state of the house suggests that his was a peaceful death. Unopened posts dating from 1996 suggested that he may have died sometime during that year. Hedviga Golik was a Croatian lady whose mummified body was only discovered 42 years after her death. She apparently had made herself a cup of tea and then sat down in front of her TV where she died. Her corpse was only discovered when authorities broke into her flat to find out who is living there. What do we learn from these grim and gory true stories? We live in an age where we get more and more connected electronically, but disconnect physically and emotionally. Maybe we should spare some thought for the lonely or sick or aged amongst us. With very little effort and at no cost, we could check up on their well-being from time to time. Who knows when you might find yourself in their shoes?